Today on Beyond the Headlines, veteran journalist and former presidential aspirant Dele Momodu has resigned from the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, effective July 17, 2025, citing a takeover by what he describes as anti-democratic forces both inside and outside the party. With his high-profile departures, attention now shifts to Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, who is widely seen as the most influential contender left in the PDP. Meanwhile, Wike's current federal role marks a dramatic turnaround from his days as Rivers State Governor, when he was a vocal critic of both President Buhari and Bola Tinubu, accusing their leadership of deepening Nigeria's economic and security woes. Stay tuned for the breakdown of these highlights. Hello viewers, I'm glad to meet you on Beyond the Headlines. Dele Momodu, veteran journalist and former presidential aspirant, has formally resigned from the People's Democratic Party. This move was confirmed in a letter dated July 17, 2025, addressed to the PDP Ward 4 chairman in Iheviebe, Owan East local government area of Edo State. Momodu cited the takeover of the PDP by anti-democratic forces from within and outside in broad daylight as his primary reason for leaving the party. He expressed that it had become honorable to abandon the carcass of the party and join forces with others in a new coalition, indicating his intent to align with the African Democratic Congress. Momodu has previously accused key figures within the PDP, namely the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, of acting as a mole for the ruling APC, contributing to the party's current state. Momodu announced he will be joining the African Democratic Congress, a coalition platform aiming to provide credible opposition ahead of the 2027 presidential election. His resignation is seen as part of a broader exodus from the PDP as prominent opposition figures seek new platforms amidst internal crisis and allegations of infiltration by rivals. Dele Momodu's resignation from the People's Democratic Party comes on the heels of Atiku Abubakar's abrupt departure from the same party. The near simultaneous exits of two prominent opposition figures underscore the deepening crisis and the accelerating fragmentation within the PDP. This wave of high-profile departures highlights widespread dissatisfaction with the party's direction and internal dynamics and signals a significant realignment ahead of the 2027 general elections. Both Momodu and Atiku have been vocal about the party's loss of democratic ideals and their decisions to leave further energize the emerging coalition landscape, particularly the rise of the African Democratic Congress, as a potential alternative for opposition forces seeking credible platforms. These developments reflect a rapidly shifting opposition scene, raising the stakes for political competition in the run-up to 2027. With key players exiting the PDP, one name still rings bell in this main opposition: Nyesom Wike, Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. Now, a tweet by Beta Century reads, "With all obstacles removed, Nyesom Wike is now well positioned to secure the PDP presidential ticket. He has no opposition and possesses a substantial war chest, significant influence and the backing of 4 governors out of the G5 governors and his stooge in Rivers State. Furthermore, he appears to have the judiciary's support as well as the endorsement of his family, including his wife, daughter, and cousin, and INEC official. Wike also enjoys the support of the Rivers State House members and the Niger Delta militants. He should take advantage of this opportunity to become Nigeria's president and choose between Damagun and Autumn as his vice president." End of quote. Very sad indeed. Now, several other netizens share the same sentiment as Beta. However, this mounting support from Wike is shadowed by deep controversy. Critics within the PDP allege that Wike has effectively hijacked the party, not to rescue it as a viable opposition platform, but to serve interests aligned more closely with the APC. They point out that despite remaining a PDP member, Wike currently serves as a minister in the President Bola Tinubu's APC-led government and has publicly declared support for Tinubu's re-election. Now, this dual allegiance has fueled suspicions that Wike is intentionally weakening the PDP from within, orchestrating internal crisis and encouraging defections in the order to consolidate the APC's hold on power and further his own political ambitions. These critics further contend that Wike's strong-handed control over key party apparatus and his ability to silence dissent through strategic appointments or by marginalizing inconvenient party factions has eroded internal democracy within the PDP. The perception that he wields influence not just through conventional political means, but also through connections within the judiciary and even among election officials, as some allege, has only increased concerns over the party's integrity and independence. Consequently, while Wike's supporters argue that his dominance and resourcefulness make him the most viable candidate in a fractured PDP, his detractors warn that his actions threaten to undermine the party's credibility as an opposition force. If Wike secures the presidential ticket under these contentious circumstances, the PDP risks not only deeper internal divisions and further defections, but also significant damage to its legitimacy in the eyes of the public, many of whom already suspect that the party might have become a proxy for ruling parties' interests rather than a genuine democratic alternative. In all, the calls for Wike to take the PDP presidential mantle encapsulate the party's current existential dilemma: whether to consolidate quickly around a powerful but controversial figure or to risk further disintegration by standing for internal democracy and the principle of genuine opposition, which path the party chooses will shape not only the 2027 prospects, but also the broader trajectory of multi-party democracy in Africa. Meanwhile, Nigerians will not forget so soon that Wike was once a vocal critic of the Muhammadu Buhari administration and the APC. During his tenure as Rivers State Governor, Nyesom Wike was known for his impassioned, often barbed criticism of President Muhammadu Buhari and the APC government. Wike consistently lambasted Buhari's administration as the worst on both economic management and security. He publicly attributed Nigeria's spiraling debt, double-digit inflation, currency collapse, and widespread insecurity to Buhari's governance, warning that continued APC rule would further imperil the nation's prospects. As the 2023 general elections drew near, Wike mocked Bola Tinubu, the then APC presidential candidate, dismissing him as ill-prepared for a high office and warning Nigerians against the government scripted for failure. In several public statements, Wike stated the economy and national cohesion had been ruined by Buhari's maladministration. He also derided Tinubu's campaign promises as empty rhetoric from a political establishment responsible for the country's woes.
When I hear people declaring for APC, saying that they want to continue the good job of Mr. President, the good job of people dying every day, the good job of Naira falling every day, I feel so ashamed that we have gotten to the level where sacrificing, people will come and say, look, I want to continue the good job of Buhari. What is the good job of Buhari? Of hunger is a good job, of poverty is a good job, of insecurity is a good job, of the economy falling is a good job. It's such a shameful thing. I can't believe that somebody will come out in today's Nigeria and say, I want to continue where Mr. Buhari has stopped. May God forgive. May God never allow that people to continue.
The post-election years ushered in a startling reversal of attitude. Wike accepted appointment as Minister of the Federal Capital Territory in the cabinet of President Bola Tinubu, whose candidacy and party he had so vigorously opposed. This move provoked fierce accusations of hypocrisy and opportunism among Nigerians and his former allies in the opposition. Critics point out that Wike now defends the same APC government he once derided and decried, even as socio-economic conditions by key indicators have aggravated further under Tinubu's administration. Wike's new role has enabled him to wield significant federal power, but has also made him the emblem of what many view as the cynical recycling of political actors, rhetoric, and failed strategies, merely swapping one actor for another. Now, let's compare. Let's have a comparative analysis. Buhari versus Tinubu on economy and poverty. Let's take debt accumulation as number one. Under Buhari, Nigeria's public debt rose sharply from approximately 12.12 trillion in 2015 to around 46 trillion naira by mid-2023. Under Tinubu's administration, in just 2 years, the national debt has surged further, exceeding 100 trillion naira by the first half of 2025, according to recent Debt Management Office figures. Now, what about poverty rate and socioeconomic indicators? During Buhari's administration, according to the National Bureau of Statistics and the United Nations, over 133 million Nigerians were classified as multidimensionally poor by 2022, representing 63% of the population. Now, under Tinubu's tenure, what happened, or what has happened? The United Nations and UNICEF reports from early 2025 indicate the number of Nigerians living below the poverty line has increased further, with an estimated 140 million classified as poor, marking a continued rise in poverty and food insecurity. Analysts attribute this surge to both the removal of fuel subsidies and the sharp depreciation of the naira, which have escalated the cost of living and deepened hardship for ordinary citizens. Now, what about inflation and economic destabilization? Under Buhari's government, we have an averaged inflation rates between 16 and 18% between 2016 and 2023. Tinubu's first 2 years saw inflation breaching 33% by mid-2025, with the World Bank and UN agencies warning that food price inflation has pushed millions more into extreme deprivation. Very sad. Now, public discourse increasingly centers on the perceived hypocrisy of Wike's shift. Many Nigerians, opposition leaders, and civil society organizations see his embrace of the Tinubu administration as a betrayal of principle driven by political ambition, not genuine concern for public welfare. The fact that Wike now works for a government presiding over worsening poverty, historic debt, and rampant inflation strengthens the charges of double standards and exposes the fungibility of political rhetoric in Nigeria's elite circles. Social media commentators and analysts routinely juxtapose Wike's speeches from his Rivers State days, where he decried the APC and predicted continued suffering under his rule, with his new role defending politics that have, by all major data points, made living conditions for Nigerians even more precarious. The United Nations and the World Bank have both intensified warnings in 2025 about the dramatic rise in poverty, food insecurity, and declining human development standards in Nigeria, ranking the country among the world's poorest both in absolute numbers and growth of impoverishment. These reports directly contradict government narratives of renewal and reinforce critics that mere changes in the leadership or party are insufficient, as recycled political scripts and alliances continue to yield hardship for the masses. Well, that's all I have for you on Beyond the Headlines. If you love this, do not hesitate to hit the like button, make your comments, share this video, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I am Tochukwu Raphael. Have a nice day.
I want to now is brother from Katsina State, you are welcome. I also want to quickly recognize the former Speaker Pro Tempore of the House of Reps, Dr. Sedu Seba, Honorable Seba. We have also the wife of the Mrs. Poli Aruna. We have John, today I've recognized you already. I'm shorting it so that we have Senator we have my brother, politician, lawyer, Nollywood actor, my friend and a reliable Nigerian, Kenneth.